Don't you love it when ultimately an industry is left to just work things out for itself and to self-regulate? Isn't that fantastic? I mean, recently we've talked about how the ESA have essentially been lobbying against the interests of video games, which, considering what the ESA is supposed to do, one would think is a bit confusing. Though, of course, it's all corrupt bullshit, so obviously it's not. Today then, we have the UK restrictions on loot boxes. This is the sort of thing that you could maybe see as, oh wow, a country's taking a stand. This is pioneering, this is incredible. We're going to get into it, and it's going to be rather funny. So, you probably saw all the noise last year about loot boxes in the UK. By the end of 2022, they said that the government was not going to legislate them out of existence. And the relevant department basically said that they think that an industry-led approach is what would make the most sense because it would mitigate the risk of unintended consequences of, overzealous regulators. Now, thankfully, they did say in the first instance. So, yeah, let's hope that they're going to cock it up and get themselves in trouble. That would be rather funny. Now, what's basically happened is that all led to a working group, which includes the likes of the government, UK, which is the UK games industry trade body, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, Electronic Arts, Take-Two Interactive, right? All the big people, even Jagex. Yes, you got some RuneScape in there. Now, this happened over 10 months, and this has led to the first real industry-wide principles that have actually been published in the UK. And that's where it's all going to get rather hilarious and go downhill. So let's do that. It'll be fun. We've got the Minister for Creative Industries, John Whittingdale, saying that they've been clear the industry needs to do more to protect children and adults from the harms associated with loot boxes. I look forward to seeing games companies put plans into action and will be watching their progress closely. Well, John, I mean, I don't really know how long you've got left in government anyway, but assuming you stay around for a bit longer, oh boy, you better watch closely. Yuki then said, publishing these shared principles for how the industry approaches loot boxes in the UK provides us with a clear direction moving forwards. These will improve protections for all players and underline the industry's commitment to safe and responsible play. Yes! That commitment was always there, folks. Remember, they are merely underlining it so that it's extra clear, because obviously they have all acted so marvelously from the past to the present day. Isn't that just lovely? So let's take a look at the proposals. This is the bit, by the way, that in our work Discord, we all started to burst into laughter because of how silly it all is. Okay, here are the principles. 1. Technological controls must be available to provide parental restrictions to prevent under 18s from buying a loot box. 2. Parents must be informed about these controls loudly, clearly, and often. 3. The industry must form a panel. Panels, don't they just get things done? A panel to provide updates and research and the best ways to manage age assurance in games. Loot boxes must be disclosed as being present before a game is purchased or downloaded. Clear probability disclosures must be there. Loot boxes can't be confusing or obfuscate their purpose, rather in the eye of the beholder. The industry must support the Video Game Research Framework, which is the government model that will give them ongoing knowledge of the industry and player concerns. They must keep trying to clamp down secondary markets. That's the likes of, say, Valve, with all of the skin gambling that goes on in Counter-Strike. They must be committed to lenient refund policies. That is a good thing, though again, I would like that to actually have some teeth, please, instead of just a woolly principle that's probably not going to be taken seriously. That they must continue to work on the problem of loot boxes and engage with third-party organizations, etc., and to keep working with the UK government. This is basically just them all being like, listen, this is the demon box that makes all the money. Now, it's absolutely untenable that we do anything to the heart of this issue. So, what are we going to do? Bunch of proposals. Bunch of working groups, bunch of panels. Nothing with any teeth, because ultimately, for the industry, right, this is just a play for time. What this means is FIFA 23, FIFA 24, etc., get to be just fine. And then, this will be supported with a £1 million 3-year public information campaign. £1 million over 3 years! £333,000 a year. Good God! I mean, I think the whole country is going to be informed in no time. Yes, 1 million to educate a country of like what, near 70 million people. Good luck with that, chaps. Good luck. Now, if you want a theme here, the thing that we picked up on immediately, absolutely none of this involves tangible actions that are actually, going to be happening. This isn't like some of the crowd over in Europe who are just saying, oh, we don't want this shit in our country. Get out of here. Oh, no. Not us. Not the UK. This, it really is quite funny. Also, how there aren't any new protections for susceptible individuals or children beyond the safeguards that already exist. Cool. No change, that's always fantastic to see. So effectively what's happening here is they're taking all the things that they're basically already doing and they formed a bunch of panels and wrote some things down in paper. We're going to have a clueless government that's probably just going to be another revolving door of morons. I mean, because it's the government probably for many years, but I mean, especially with, I'd say probably with both the main parties in the UK, it's probably going to be a revolving door of morons that don't actually know what's going on. So all of this really is cheery business. And it has led to some hilarious things, such as this, of course, the BBC. Everyone loves them and trusts them, and they say, loot boxes. Games companies agree to restrict access in UK. Really, BBC? God, you're a funny bunch. Yes, so this is really something of low expectations. Let's take FIFA 23. That is absolutely the problem game, especially in the United Kingdom, where people do indeed love their football. Now, this is a game that's rated for kids. It's one that parents have got no problems, of course, letting their child play because, hey, it's only football. There's nothing bad in the football. Of course, it has FIFA Ultimate Team, where people are going to be throwing stupid amounts of money into loot boxes at their heart's content. How will this game be impacted? Well, EA already have a sign saying that it has in-game purchases in brackets includes random items. EA already display probabilities for their packs. EA already actively tries to prevent secondary markets. Console and PC stores have already been having like parental restriction features. Even Steam. So that's not an EA. That's not really a problem. What does EA have to do to comply with the new guidelines, right? Well, they've got to tell players if they use player data to offer player purchase opportunities. They've got to make sure that their refund policies are lenient. Lenient, that's a firm definition. I love that. And they've got to keep working with the industry and contribute to panels, because we all know panels get shit done. So that means they actually have to do nothing, which is kind of incredible. I know there's some other countries, they see, oh, loot boxes. Are they working on all of the same psychology as gambling? Cool. You can't have those and be rated a 3+. I mean, that would have been some more tangible action, wouldn't it? Yeah, so obviously nothing here. The bar is in fact so low in these it's not even regulations. The bar here is so low that when the BBC says loot boxes, game companies agree to restrict access in the UK, well, FIFA 23 gets to sail on through, good and happy. And that really does show how bloody low the bar is. So the impact here is absolutely minimal. The most is that maybe the most gross of mobile games could have to change one or two things, right? Maybe. Most of those mobile games aren't UK based anyway. It's going to be pretty damn hard to clamp down on any of that. Because in reality, like mobile games and other nonsense, that's not really being talked about here. It's not what politicians spent months on, right, last year. They spent time on FIFA and other PC and console games, and under these new industry-spanning guidelines, those are now kind of codified as the new normal. It's like the government seem like, oh, we see whiffs of a problem, let's investigate. I think we all know that it absolutely is a problem. Of course, who are they doing all these working committees with? People from EA, people from UK. Remember, UK, I suppose actually, they don't represent you, but I guess because we're a studio, they do represent us. I don't feel necessarily that represented by them, though, because they advocate for this kind of shit, which I absolutely hate. It's an industry body. They obviously don't serve customers, they serve the industry. It's just like with the ESA over in the United States. You guys all know what the score is. Now, there is one little off-ramp to the good timeline here, okay? So I will mention that. They basically talk about how there's, community groups, charity support systems, as well as the industry, right? The DCMS, which is the government, group. That basically they'll be looking to these third parties to actually monitor things. So they're definitely taking a hands-off sort of position here. That said, if they were particularly hands-on, let's be real, would they probably cock it up and get nothing done on time? I mean, yeah, of course, it's the government. That's the way that it goes. So they did anyway leave it by saying that they will keep their position on possible future legislative options under review, informed by the effectiveness of the implementation of industry-led measures, which, remember, just about nothing's different. So it's not really measures. And independent scrutiny of risks and protections with regards to loot boxes and video games. So basically, they're open to doing something in the future, maybe, if a bunch of third parties, including ones comprised of industry bodies, if people in those panels maybe get back to them. And remember, this is just loot boxes now. The industry is always going to be able to move so much faster than any real form of regulation here. We need to think about, fundamentally, what do we want here? What do we actually want for society? As an example, do we really want to, say, welcome all the gambling in the universe into our towns? Now, in America, I know for you guys, isn't it online gambling's really clamped down? And a lot of people are like, oh, online gambling's clamped down. That's a great thing. Of course, that's just because of lobbying. That's just lobbying by the non-online gambling people. But certainly, here in the UK, I'm sure, down south in Ireland, I'm sure in parts of Europe as well, the gambling industry, especially in and around sports betting, is really seen as one of the very much more bad things to happen, right? If that's a big thing in your town, it's not good news. I think for a lot of people, there's a degree of habituation that's going on here at a very young age with the likes of, with the likes of FIFA. And there's also a moving of the goalposts. Trust me, I didn't try to make a football joke. So, I'm 29. I think most of our team's 29, 30, 31. And for us, we're still talking about this shit. But there are loads of people who might be, and I've spoken, funny enough, I've spoken to people who are younger than me. People who are maybe in their early 20s, right? And they literally just grew up in a different time in gaming. And the things that they just think are normal and fine and good are totally fucked up. Now, we can all say, yeah, I remember when I bought Warcraft 3 and then bought Frozen Throne, and we just got lots of great game. I was there when Horse Armor happened, but also when Shivering Isles happened, when we got expansion packs and good deals and live services were not a thing. And broadly speaking, yes, less people were doing it, but gaming was a significantly more happy place. I think the incentives for developers, I think the incentives for publishers were a lot more aligned with ship copies of your goddamn game. Because if you make your money by shipping copies of your game because your game is good, then you've got to ship a good game. If you are doing essentially the bare minimum that you need to keep your live service going, that's the scumbag stuff. Again, I don't want to dogpile on Bungie. There are many fantastic game developers that work at Bungie, and I think the only reason that Destiny has been able to to persist for as long as it has is because its core gameplay is really fantastic, right? Its its art design is fantastic. I think lots of its music is really strong as well. Bungie the business is the problem. Destiny is fantastic in so many ways. But I know one thing that was going around the Destiny community for quite a long time was a talk that was given at GDC. And in a way, purely as a customer, it does sound like a bunch of things that are kind of against your interests. Now, as, say, developers talking to developers about, hey, here's how we realistically manage expectations and all of that. Yeah, there can be, there's absolutely discussion there. It's quite funny. In a way, they almost fell by one of the principles that was espoused by the guy giving that talk. He talked about, don't over-deliver, because if you over-deliver, you're just going to set yourself up for failure in the future. Little did they know that by making Witch Queen good, they would screw themselves up for the most recent expansion. It's not to pick on them anyway. It is just that idea, though, that as time has went on, many aspects of gaming have genuinely got worse. Now, the good thing is that there are many other parts of gaming that are fantastic, that are in fact better than ever. There are so many like amazing experiences to play right now that, you know, you'd almost be overwhelmed. And the thing is, many of those fantastic experiences, they are double A's, they're major indies, they're smaller indies, they're not backed up by humongous marketing budgets, which means that unless you go looking for them, you might not actually find them. So it is to say that I do think that gaming has actually regressed significantly from the good old days. There's many aspects of the craft that have got better, but I think the overall proposition for the customer and experience has got worse with the major big live service games. I don't think they've been worth, in just about every case, I don't think they've been worth the heartache, right? I don't think they've been worth all the drama and bullshit. And I think my main point, though, is that, let's just say you're shipping a new Command & Conquer game in the early 2000s. What's your job? It's to make Command & Conquer Generals great. It's to make, Tiberium Wars great. It's to make Red Alert great. Because if it's great, people will buy it. Not to ship the bare minimum and then have a content roadmap that you're probably not going to fulfill in a satisfying manner. It's like, how many games have got to die at this? And again, you look at the situation with FIFA. I mean, they're pretty lucky that they can essentially just print the same game every single year with a roster update. Pretty rough, and it's good to know that when the industry decides to regulate itself and to fix problems, they essentially are able to put down 12 points, nothing of true substance. You go, games industry, you're fantastic. Alright, well, that's been a bit of fun. Hey, look, sometimes bad shit happens, but also we can kind of, we can laugh at. Have a really good day, though. I'll see you next time.